Okay, so this video, I'm just going to have a look at the advantages and disadvantages of monopolies. And when we look at advantages and disadvantages of monopolies, we need to make sure we're always referring to the impact on firms, governments, consumers, workers, or suppliers. So you can't just say, oh, monopolies are good or monopolies are bad because blah, blah, blah. You have to tell me who they impact on. So the first one, we'll do good first and then we'll do all the bads. So the first good point is they make abnormal profit. And you can argue this is a benefit because this money can be reinvested and be used for art, research and development. So pharmaceutical companies and Apple are your best examples of that. And then you can talk about drugs which are being used or products such as iPods, iPads, iWatches, etc. Monopolies allow firms to compete globally. So if companies such as BT have been a monopoly in the UK, they made vast profits which allowed the business to grow and become innovative, and which allowed them to compete on an international stage. It allows you to increase the range of goods and services because these businesses reinvest them within themselves, developing new products. So Apple and Microsoft are good with this. And any business studies student could use the Boston Matrix to help you show your development of your rising stars and your problem children from milking your cash cows. But basically what this is the idea that you use your profits that you've made from the main business that you have, and from those profits you develop offshoots. So for example, Microsoft with its software packages, developing Microsoft Teams and the Xbox. Also, it's good because price discrimination allows for cheaper products for certain parts of certain types of consumers, such as NUS. They allow our world to have an increased number of products which provide us with utility. So the R&D provides with drugs and with goods which help to support our world. iPad, Google, Alexa. They also take advantage of economies of scale and allow us to have access to items which are cheaper than they would normally be. So McDonald's is a great example of this. But any type of like large scale mass produced goods, so for example food or clothing, the firm takes advantages from economies of scale. Helps to avoid undesirable duplication of resources because you've only got one firm producing the market, so you don't have to have wasteful advertising, etc. And it's also beneficial when we look at natural monopolies. However, monopolies can be bad. Abnormal profits create less incentive to invest, and firms spend a large amount of time protecting the market dominance. So less investment is definitely the post office. The post office over many years had significantly underfunded and lack of investment. Also Railtrack was the same. And gas electricity companies and also companies like Coca-Cola and McDonald's, Tesco, spent a huge amount of time protecting their market. Tesco has actually been found guilty of buying up land, not that land it needs, but buying up land close to its stores, so other firms can't locate close to them, such as Asda or Sainsbury's, which obviously that is bad because it stops prices being falling in those areas, and it's because of their dominance in that market. The big reason why we argue against monopolies is price is higher and output is lower, which we'll have a look at in a minute in a diagram. It supports inefficient goods and resources. So good firms produce goods or keep on producing goods which the market doesn't want. And the example I always use here is Heinz's green tomato ketchup. Price discrimination allows for higher prices for some. For example, gas electricity suppliers charge people higher prices that don't switch through direct debit or have a poor credit rating. They're not allocatively and productively efficient. Very few monopolies stay permanent monopolies. Many attract others into the market over time. So for example, Aldi and Lidl and Amazon have entered the supermarket market eventually, trying to reduce down the dominance that Tesco and such other companies have. And what this shows is that but monopolies very rarely stay true monopolies, because actually over time you do suck in competitors. It's just that competitors need to be large enough to compete. And it also creates a misallocation of resources because they're not allocatively and productively efficient. A natural monopolist occurs where that's one producer who's able to take advantage by producing it for all people because of the benefits of the economies of scale being so large by one firm producing it. For this to occur, you need to have a very strong regulator that makes sure prices don't rise too far and the quality of the product which is being produced is good. Remember, you may have a local monopoly, something like your local Italian restaurant or window cleaner, but these are not a national or international monopolist. It might just be a local one to you, but that is not for all. And just looking at here, the comparisons between them, here we have a diagram of a monopoly, and what it shows is the profit maximising position here being Q1, P1. Okay, and they're making that blue amount here of normal profit. However, if this firm was producing in perfect competition, it would produce here at Q2 where MC equals AR or demand equals supply, which is a lower price and a higher output, or it would produce at the bottom part of the AC curve, which is P4, Q3. Because obviously, remember, in perfect competition, you both produce what MC equals AR and at the bottom part of the AC curve. Now, what's really important here is we are able to show the deadweight loss. So the deadweight loss that we suffer from this business being a monopoly is this triangle here. And this is a triangle that we lose of output that we would have had. Because if this business was in perfect competition, we'd be producing at Q2. But because it's a monopoly, we only produce at Q1. So this is the loss of output that we have because of it's in monopoly. You could also say that there would be a welfare gain or a deadweight gain if this business produced in perfect competition, because you'd be able to capture this extra output because we'd be then producing what MC equals AR.